So I'm a mother. I have two sons. They're 18 and 14, and I've loved being a mom. But when I first became a parent, I wasn't ready at all. Now, I was heavily pregnant, and my husband and I had the crib, blankets, whole nine yards. So when I say I wasn't ready, I don't mean that that child wasn't wanted or expected. He was. I just mean that my first child arrived unexpectedly early. He was born 16 weeks or 4 months premature when my husband and I were out of state on a day trip. We live in Georgia and we were up in Tennessee when I went into labor and got rushed to the local hospital. Now, at that time, I was working as a college professor, so I spent my days reading, researching, teaching. And so naturally, throughout my pregnancy, I had been doing my homework. I had been reading the book that my obstetrician had given me, What to Expect When You're Expecting. And I had gotten up through the chapter on month 5 because I was 5 months pregnant, which is why when I suddenly found myself giving birth, I looked at the nurse in the labor and delivery room and I said, "This can't be happening. I haven't finished reading What to Expect." And she said to me, and weirdly enough, this was the exact same thing that a tattoo artist said to me a year later when I got my first tattoo. She said, "People always wonder how much it's going to hurt. But don't worry. In a moment, the mystery will be gone." Yeah, helpful. Okay. So my son was born, and he was ill-equipped to live in the world, not ready for anything. He was a tiny thing. He was 1 pound, 7 ounces, 12 and a quarter inches long. And he was born so early, his eyes were still sealed shut like a puppy's. And his skin was so thin you could about see through it. I could see his tiny heart, the size of my fingertip, beating. And his tiny lungs, the size of lima beans, trying and failing to take in air. So he got rushed off to neonatal intensive care by a cadre of doctors. They were going to put him on the ventilator. And my husband and I were left alone in the labor and delivery room. And we just looked at each other and said, "What in the hell is happening?" We didn't know if our baby would live through the night. One of the doctors had given him 10% chance. And we didn't know if he did live through the night, how long we might all be in the hospital or what his early birth might mean in terms of the rest of his life. So we were drowning in shock, confusion, fear until about 2 o'clock in the morning when an angel walked in the room. And I do not say that lightly. His name was Dr. Ahmad, and he was a neonatologist. He wasn't even supposed to be on shift at the hospital that night. He had just stopped in to check on a patient, somebody else's baby, and he'd heard about our situation and come to see us. He sat down at the foot of the bed and asked if anyone had told us what was going to happen. We said, "No, we have no idea." And then he laid out a roadmap. He told us what would happen if our baby lived through the night, through the week, through the month, through the year, all the way out until about age 7. And the challenges were staggering. Babies born that early, they have problems with their brain, their eyes, their heart, their lungs, everything. But then he said something I've never forgotten. In his lilting Syrian voice, he said, "It will be, how you say, a roller coaster. There will be ups and there will be downs, but do not be disencouraged." And when he said, "Do not be disencouraged," it called to mind all those times in different faith traditions when a messenger shows up and says, "Do not be afraid." And then he said, "These babies, they will surprise you. They live because they do not know how to do otherwise." So my son lived because he did not know how to do otherwise. he hadn't read all those medical textbooks that said he wasn't supposed to make it. And it just wasn't in his nature to give up. He was, and frankly still is, one of the most stubborn human beings on the planet. And I guess if you want to put it more positively, I can say he was born knowing that sometimes survival is just a matter of persistence. Now, as for me, as a new mother whose first child spent 128 roller coaster days in neonatal intensive care, well, I survived because a stranger offered me hope when I needed it most, saying there will be ups, there will be downs, but do not be disencouraged. Thank you.